Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today I'm going to get my chance to talk to you about the RTX 5070 Ti's. Now technically yesterday was the NDA for the MSRP cards, and the MSRP set by Nvidia is 729. I've got two other models today which are more than that, which I am going to be talking to you about. Now, the first one that I want to draw attention to is the Palit Game Rock. Looks exactly the same as all of the other Game Rock cards that I've looked at, including the 5090. They look identical. This is going to be £769, so not a huge markup in the grand scheme of things. I know that's more than MSRP, but we'll glaze past the politics. 769 is going to be the price that they're aiming for at retailers, but obviously retailers can change and adapt and do other things, so we won't get into that either, because that's a video in itself. But with the Game Rock, a lot of people aren't keen on the aesthetics with the plastic along the front. Well, that raised section along the front, I actually think that if you didn't like that, you could easily trim that with some vinyl, so like sticker, and trim around it. Take this plastic piece off, trim it with whatever colour vinyl that you wanted, and then you'd still be able to remove that for it to go back for warranty if you were to run into any issues. Because the warranty sticker is on the back, so removing this bit on the front shouldn't make too much of a difference if you did want to vertically mount it, or if you did want to customize it. So that's just my little idea with this card if you were interested in getting it. The MSI, and I say this with bated breath, but I was quite excited that I finally got my limited edition lucky. Because with the Vanguard launch editions, you do get a lucky inside, and I got the Bobber lucky, which I was ecstatic about. Then I found out how much the price was going to be, and it's £969. Now I do need to stress, well I don't need to, but MSI have asked me to stress, they are going to have an MSRP model available at 729 or close to it. But the Vanguard limited edition card is going to be 969. Now, we're going to glaze past the lucky, because the lucky thing is cool, but it's by no way worth 200 GBP. It's by no way worth a 25% price increase. But they do say launch model, and they kept saying about this being a limited edition. But the card itself is not limited edition at all. It's the same as every other Vanguard that everybody else is going to get. It comes in a different box with a lucky in it. That's it. Now, if this was numbered, or if the backplate was a different special colour, you know, and the metalwork on it was different so that it was limited, I'd still say it was too expensive. And then also MSI did say, well, I'm sure Asus are going to have cards at this price, and I'm sure you're going to be able to find other models at this price. Maybe so, but this is meant to be a limited edition card that's now suddenly £200 more expensive than the Palit that was already 40 GBP more expensive than MSRP. So we're at the point of being £250 more expensive, and you get a plastic toy with it. Now the plastic toy is cool, I'm all for that. But this price just feels a little bit of a shocker. I also think that a lot of people are just going to end up buying it because they can get it. But I don't particularly think that's fair. Now, when we come to comparing these two graphics cards, the MSI uses more power. Now, by using more power, at this point, I would normally be at the point where I thought it was going to perform better. And even though that I run this in the gaming mode, because there's a little switch on the back, even though that I run this in the gaming mode, it was basically a little bit slower than the Palit consistently. Now the boost with the Palit was a smidgen behind, but the MSI consistently throughout the testing wasn't performing where I would have not necessarily expected it, but for that much price, definitely where I would have expected it. But they were fairly close. but more often than not, the Palit just about pulled in front while using less power, which was actually quite an eye-opener when you think about it. So as the gaming results are coming up and it's, you know, it's pulling less power here, we need to then sort of try and boil down to the 5070 Ti in its raw sense without the pricing on the top. And effectively, it's better than a 4080 in performance. In some games and a fair amount of titles, it was better than a 4080 Super. Now, the 4080 when launched was too expensive, but the 4080 Super got the price cut and that came in at $999. This is obviously the $999. The Palit is roughly 25% cheaper than that. This is almost the same price, which is quite nuts when you think about it. But performance-wise, it was 4080 better than, in a lot of things, it was better than a 4080 Super. When we think about other brands, so the 7900 XT and XTX, in the testing that we've done with all of our testing, it was better than all of them. So this does really well. And what you do need to think about with this, whether you like it or not, but you do get DLSS 4 available with these cards, whereas with the 4000 series at the moment, you do not. So you've got some performance increases, plus you have new options available to you as well with the games that do support it. Now the Palit, I actually think there's a valid reason for getting this, especially if you can get it around that price point. You can't quite stretch to a 5080, you want to get on the DLSS 4 bandwagon, you've got to buy yourself a graphics card. Obviously, if you're at the 3000 series, let's say you've got a 3070 Ti or even a 3080, it's a decent upgrade. If you're on one of the older cards like a 2000 series, it's an even better upgrade. Out of the two, sadly, this is going to be the one that I'm going to advise you get, because at this price point, paying so much extra isn't going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you any real extra frames, and if anything, paying less got you extra frames with this one. But as much as I love the Lucky and the limited angle of it, I think that's just a little bit too much money on top of an MSRP at this price point. It's a lot of money on top of a 5090. It's a lot of money on top of a 5080. On top of a 5070 Ti, it's too much money, I think. And that's me trying to be as nice as I possibly can be about it. There are obviously going to be a lot of other cards out there. They're going to be e-tailers that are going to bump the prices up, yada, yada, yada. But the prices I've got are these ones that are given to me by the manufacturer. And out of that, I think that makes the Palit Game Rock an absolute bargain when you consider the MSI. Because I know people are going to go, oh, £700 is too expensive. Fair enough, all about compared to the MSI. So 4080 Super like performance. A card that you can technically customize if you wanted to. I know a lot of you are just going to face it down and forget about it. Then you guys don't even have to worry about anything. But beyond that, great little card. And one that in reality, I hope will show you that the Palits should always be on your shortlist. I know it's hard at the moment to get hold of stuff to actually be able to purchase. Everyone thinks that the reviewers get them, but we end up sharing these and they get moved around. So there's only ever a handful of them and then we have to review them. So it doesn't get to stay with me, sadly. But I know that the amount of these that are going to be available at launch are limited. But the point in my role here for you guys is to be able to look at them objectively, look at the differences between the models, look at the prices, and hopefully guide you into where you should be aiming your time at if you're going to be sat there at launch trying to get one, or which one you pre-order for later. And if it came down to pre-ordering and waiting for later for me out of these two, then it's going to be this one. It looks exactly the same as the 5080 and the 5090 of these that I've already done, and we've done, admittedly I prefer the old look of these, but we've used Palit Game Rock cards in builds and mods in the past, and they're all still beating. They are just so well built. And yeah, it's kind of shown the MSI up in a humongous fashion. But for now at least, this has been the tiniest one with another video for you. Out.